You know that moment when you come across a very challenging math problem and it really stumps you? For example, if you removed everything from your living room, what area do you have given that it's an 8 by 7 by 3 meter room? Or like when your little kid asks you to help them with their homework by simplifying the expression 4m plus 5 plus 2m minus 1. And if you're like me, I tend to have a very vacant and confused look develop on my face, much like as if a cat had just started talking to me. Saying that, I do love a bit of a maths challenge every now and again. So when I got my hands on the DMD001 automatic by Italian microbrand Liberum in 4 different interchangeable colourways, grey, which is what the watch came in, with additional straps and modular casing of red, electric blue and lime, I went about trying to figure out exactly how many colour combinations were available to me. It's simple, right? Sure, you just times the number of strap colours by the case colours. But it actually gets a little bit more complicated, as not only did I want 2 of the same coloured straps on a case, for example, blue straps on a grey case, but then actually there was also some further combinations I could explore. For example, 2 different coloured straps on either side of the case. For example, a green strap attached to the 12 o'clock on a grey case, with a red strap attached to the 6. Now this made my maths much harder, as there are now 3 sets of elements when working out exactly how many combinations were available to me. The 12 o'clock strap, the case, and the 6 o'clock strap. 1, 2, and 3. And more additional criteria followed. I didn't want any strap to match the colour of the case, unless of course both parts of the strap were the same colour. For example, a red strap attached to the 12 o'clock part of a red case with an odd colour at the 6 o'clock part of the strap is something I didn't want, because, well, that would look a bit daft, right? So this just added to my overall confusion and the ever complicating formula I tried in vain to conjure up. Now, failing miserably, I actually turned to Google for a combination formula and was met with this formula everywhere I went. I mean, holy moly. CNR being the number of combinations, N the total number of objects in the set, and R being the number of choosing objects from the set. And just reading that alone really hurt my head, and when I soon realised that this was far too complex for my simple brain, I turned to good old Microsoft Excel to figure out in the old-fashioned way by creating a big table, with the column in the middle indicating the case colour, and using fairly simple logic to input all the colours on the left column and on the right column, and using a series of copies and pastes, go through all the different colour combos whilst deleting those that were either duplicates or didn't fulfill my criteria. And lo and behold, I managed to figure out that there are 40 different colour combinations. So now that we've established the number of combinations I can have, we're going to take the macro lens to the Liberum DMD001 automatic and taking a very close look at every single aspect of this watch, as I always try to do for you, my lovely viewers, all 7 of you. So a lot to get through in this vid, not least a very quick tutorial on how to change the modular casing of this watch, amongst looking through an in-depth lens into every aspect of this watch. So for those of you who don't know, I do leave chapters in all my vids, so if you want to watch specific sections of my breakdown, then you can use those chapters to hop around. Oh, and don't forget to please leave a subscribe or a comment. I would absolutely love to hear what you think about this watch, or even if you just want to say hello. And stick around to the end of my in-depth analysis of the Liberum DMD001 automatic for my usual walk around, as I take it around the fantastic city of Leeds, West Yorkshire, and one of the major cities in the north of England, in search of anything colourful, which inevitably led me to the famous Leeds Art Gallery. As ever, it's great to have you here. Now let's look at an overdramatic specification of this watch, all in the next 90 seconds. Liberum is an Italian microbrand created by a Mr. David Libero, whose son was one day in the summer of 2021 colouring in an old watch he found inside a drawer. Now the little lad then asked the very simple question, why can't you change when you want the colour to leave those things under the glass? And that's where the idea of creating this modular watch brand clicked, and part of his surname, Libero, evolved into Latin, giving birth to the Liberum Brand. And the DMD001 is Liberum's only product to date. And in terms of available colourways, you have the white case and strap, the grey case and strap as your two main primary colours, with add-ons available in brown, green, blue, electric blue, red and lime. And in my absolutely grubby but very warm hands, I've got the heating on full blast today here in the Carney household, is the DMD001 automatic with the grey case and red straps. Now in terms of the add-on colourways, electric blue, red and lime are definitely the more vibrant of the 6 colourways available to you, with the brown, green and the blue the more, dare I say, more pastel-y set of colourways. So my opinion is that you can probably successfully colour coordinate different combinations within those 2 specific sets, the pastel set and the more vibrant set, but I most certainly wouldn't mix between the 2. For example, an electric blue with pastel brown, so please bear that in mind when you purchase this watch and are indeed looking to add a secondary colourway. But what I will say is that each set coordinates very well indeed with the 2 primary colours of white and grey. Now according to my very trusty Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, there are 40 colour combinations within my 4 colourways, using my criteria of A, being able to change all 3 sets, the upper strap, the case and the lower strap, and B, that you can't have the same colour strap as the case unless both the upper and lower straps are the same colour as the case. So just to reiterate what was said in a colourful and dramatic 90-second spec, the DMD001 came in at 11.9mm thick, including the crystal, 42mm in diameter, 49mm lug to lug, 20mm at the lug, with this polyurethane high resistance strap actually not tapering at all from its lugs right down to its signed buckle. The dial itself is pretty straightforward, and it's worth noting again that the case is only available in those 2 colourways, grey and white. Now I have the grey dial, and when I say grey, it's a fairly darkish grey, much like a very angry cloud before a huge storm. So in my opinion that grey looks totally cool. A bit more aggressive for want of a better word than a lighter and more softer grey tone. You have the Liberum logo, which is under the 12, all in caps, and the product name under the pinion. Again, white and bold with the automatic status in red underneath. The font type is a great choice, very pronounced but not over-announcing itself too much, and it really complements the cool colourways and the overall sporty and modern feel to this watch. The hour markers are these big fat bold baton markers with 0 tapering, very distinct indeed, and printed in white, and in between you have minute markers with smaller quarter-second markers, giving an overall busy and complex feel around the perimeter of an otherwise simple looking dial. And for me, that blend of simplicity and complexity in parts works really well. And also note that the date complication here at the 3 colour matched to the dial. Both the hour and minute hands are these big bold baton hands in white, but interestingly only white from around about 2mm from the pinion, which I really like personally, as it just takes away a bit of boldness of the white from the hands and nicely balances it from the grey, but also it gives a kind of an awesome floaty feel to the hands as it spins around that dial. The hour hand falls about 2mm short of the hour markers, and the minute hand landing absolutely perfectly on the minutes track. The seconds hand is needle thin, in grey, counterbalanced with a red tip, which lands perfectly on the microsecond markers right on the perimeter of the dial, and it goes without saying that those hands, coupled with the bold hour markers, make this watch extremely legible. The hands and dials are all contained under this scratch-resistant, anti-reflective sapphire crystal, and the AR coating on this sapphire crystal, again, coupled with the bold hands and the hour markers, just won't let you down in terms of legibility in certain angles of light. And the face of this watch is lit up with Super Luminova C1 on the hands and on the hour markers, and well, there's not really much else I can say about the Lume, as it really does speak for itself. One thing to notice on the face of this watch is the bezel, and at first glance the numerals on the bezel gives this watch a bit of a dives feel, but actually the bezel is integrated into that case and it doesn't rotate at all, The markers on that bezel are actually minute numerals and sit adjacent to the minute markers on the dial. They are displayed in denominations of 5s, less the inverted triangle at the 12, with small square dots in between representing the individual minutes. Now, I don't think that the minute numbers and markers on the bezel offer much other than perhaps adding more of that complexity to an otherwise simply designed watch. Is it necessary, or would I prefer to see a clean bezel? I don't know, maybe I actually think the former, and whilst there is an element of practicability by having those numbers and minute markers on the bezel, I think that from a design aesthetic point of view, that addition of more complexity elevates this watch into the realms of a more premium looking watch at first glance. Now, the case is actually in two parts, with this being a modular watch. The outer and removable case is made from TPE, which stands for thermoplastic elastomer. Now, the thermoplastic elastomer is a flexible and rubber-like material that processes much like plastic but can withstand extreme temperature without warping or cracking, and is also tear resistant, very resilient, and yet soft to the touch. As mentioned in my spec, this outer case is 11.9mm thick including crystal, 42mm in diameter, 49mm lug to lug, and when I say soft to touch, it's very smooth. It feels almost like you can squeeze the case like you can with a very robust rubber, but it's very solid, and in fact it is very durable. The actual inner case, which houses the mechanics of this watch, is made from 316L stainless steel. So to change the case of this watch, you've got a hex locks on either end of the case and a hex locks key which is provided. You simply take the hex locks off both sides of the case, which actually feels very easy to do. So I'm actually going to speed up this part of the vid now to spare you the laboriousness of my slow and quite clumsy case swap.
And you'll be able to tell that I've sped it up because I very much sound like a chipmunk. Now the modular case just pops off, leaving behind the inner case. You take your other case, in this case green, pop it on and screw back on the hex locks, which again is very easy to do. In fact, let's just jump to the end.
And there we have it, easy peasy. The bezel is part of this one mould of the outer case, and you can see a lovely bit of chamfered edging here on both sides of the case from lug to lug that bends down but does not taper down to the lugs. It adds a lovely bit of softness and detail to what would otherwise be a very angular case. The right hand side of the case extends out slightly to house, if not guard, the crown, which by the way is a screw down crown. The crown does protrude quite a bit, but that's because of the way it's engineered to compensate for the modular case. Now the crown is engraved with the L element of the Liberum logo, and also note that it's water resistant up to 10 ATM or 100 meters, so okay to take it for a paddle at your local baths or down by the beach, but I certainly wouldn't go down into the Marianas Trench with it. The strap is a high resistance polyurethane, which is basically a resilient, flexible and durable plastic material that is affordable but also sustainable. And actually polyurethane is something that we all come across every single day in one form or another. They are used in a wide variety of applications to create all manner of consumer and industrial products that play a crucial role in making our lives more convenient, comfortable and actually more environmentally friendly. Shoe soles, car parts, sportswear for example, and this the strap of the Liberum DMD001. It feels nice and flexible, probably a touch less so than some of the silicone straps that I'm more accustomed to with other sports watches. This most certainly complements the case material much better than silicone would, and it actually feels like it's all part of the same material. You have this indent near the lugs which fades away as it goes further down the strap, adding that hint of complexity again to what would have otherwise been a pretty boring strap. On the inside of both sides of the strap you have the logo embossed, and that embossing is within this recessed part of the strap, which means that the embossed logo doesn't make for an uncomfortable wear against your skin. You have two loops, both free, which I really like because I absolutely despise two loops with one being fixed. Don't ask me why, but I do, so I'm super chuffed on a personal level that both these loops are free. Now the straps are quick release, which I think is absolutely necessary for a modular watch. This is the red, but it's just worth noting again that if you do go for one of these optional add-ons, you do get the modular case with it too. The movement is an NH35A, 21,600 beats per hour, 41 hours power reserve, hand windable when obviously not screwed down, hacking seconds, and one of the world's most popular movements. The NH35A is a movement also equipped with the Seco magic lever, so shaking the watch side to side should get it going almost immediately. And that movement is contained behind this exhibition case bag. Looks pretty cool in my opinion, especially with it being entirely black and branded rotor, and I love that they've gone down the black route with white branding. Looks totally mint against the dark grey of the thermoplastic elastomer outer case and the lighter grey of the 316L inner case and case bag, which by the way sports some of the watch's spec on its perimeter, though it's very small and difficult to read. On my 7.5-inch wrist it wears, well, what can I say, in terms of comfortability, it wears absolutely perfectly, and that's down to the material that makes up this watch. It's super comfy and very light indeed, at only 71 grams on the wrist. The 42mm in diameter and 49mm lug-to-lug proportions means that this watch sits well within my preference of dimensions on my size wrist. Now I don't know why, but this diameter feels much more like a 40mm. Perhaps the lightweight or even the darkness of the dial in case gives it the illusion of feeling like a 40mm as opposed to a 42mm. Now I tried several, and I mean several, of the different combinations from the 40 that I figured you could get, from the strap colours on the 12 and 6 o'clock parts of the straps, to differing ones at random, to ones that had stronger and bolder colours at the 6 o'clock part of the case, to the opposite way where the strong and bolder colours were at the 12 o'clock part of the case. And I must say, as daft and obvious as it sounds, it felt very much different with each and every wear. Some colour combinations were obviously better than others, in my personal opinion, but each owner will obviously have their own subjective preferences. In terms of price, the DMD001 automatic comes in at 228 UK pounds sterling, 290 USD, or around about 265 euros in today's currency market, with free shipping in Europe on all purchases of watches and accessories, which I personally feel is a fantastic price for what you get. Accessories come in the form of the add-ons, which come in at a very reasonable £52, 62-ish USD, or 60-ish euros. So if you wanted a set like what I have here, the primary grey with add-ons of electric blue, red and lime, you'd be looking at a total of 384 UK squids, 490-ish US dollars, or 446 euros, which I think it's a great price for basically a watch that you'll probably wear much more than you think, that is very much adaptable to mood, whereby the case is easily changed and the straps easily changed too. Overall, well, what can I say? It's an Italian modular microbrand that gives you the ability to very easily change the straps and case to suit the mood that you're in, so it's going to be pretty difficult to get much cooler than that, right? My personal favourite right now is the dark grey case and dial with the lime green straps, but who knows, 6 weeks from now, or perhaps even earlier, my preference may be a blue case with red straps, who knows. What I do know is that this will live its life with me in several different forms. One day it'll be colourful, the next day even more so extravagant, and the next day more subtle, depending on what I want really. But today I'm taking it to the fantastic city of Leeds in my favourite colour combination of a grey case and lime straps to brighten up an otherwise cold winter's day here in England. So if you have a watch box full of steel and or leather, take a look at the Liberum DMD001 Auto, and if you do, I'd highly recommend getting some add-ons, potentially another 3 if you can, so you can have all those combinations available to you too. And yeah, it took a bit of and ahhing about exactly how many combinations I'd be able to get out of having 3 vibrant sets of colourways in addition to this grey, but I got there in the end. 40 differing variations if you had those 4 sets. I mean, that's astonishing, and well, I actually just hope that I'm right. That 40 is actually the real number, and that my Microsoft Excel skills aren't near as bad as my math skills.